What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Endzone to Endline Podcast. We have finally decided on a name. I was about to say Frozen Pitch Podcast. That's not it. No. So glad I caught myself before making such a huge oopsie daisy. Yeah, week one of the NFL is slowly upon us. I believe it's this Thursday night.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jack, Chiefs Walter picks Kansas City Chiefs takes on my somewhat Detroit Lions. I mean, I feel so bad for saying this, but I've low-key converted into a Lions fan. I was a Patriots fan. You can officially call me a bandwagon because if you could hear me in middle and high school, I would rip the Lions apart for good reason because they were god awful and they still are, but now they've got such a hype train going on. But yeah, week one finally upon us. So we are going to give our NFL division winners and, MVP and the, player of the year awards just to add a little pizzazz. So, Jack, start us off with your AFC East prediction.
Hell yeah, baby. Week one is here next week, everyone. I'm going to be in Kansas City for the Lions and the Chiefs game. Cannot wait to get back to Kansas City this next week and see the Chiefs put 50 up on this Swiss cheese defense that the Lions are about to roll out. So starting off in the AFC East,
right.
I have got the New York Football Jets winning the AFC East. My reasoning is that we've seen this story unfold 2 years prior with Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay in his first year and winning a Super Bowl and winning the division. Or he didn't win the division that year, but they did have success in the Super Bowl. Similarly with Matt Stafford in LA a couple years ago as well. Stafford went to LA for the first time, and he was able to thrive, win the NFC West, and also win the Super Bowl that year. I'm not saying that the Jets are my Super Bowl pick as of this moment, but I do like them to win a hard division in the AFC East. I think the Jets have the toughest schedule coming out of the gate. They have 6 games before their bye week, and they play Philadelphia, Dallas, Kansas City, New England, Denver. That is a brutal first couple of weeks of the season before they move into a bye week on their 6th week. I expect them to come out pretty slow, maybe just win 2 of those games. I'd call that a win. But then the schedule does lighten up towards the second half of the year. And I'm very low on Buffalo. You're not going to see Buffalo here in my playoff predictions when we get to our wildcard teams. Some team you'll not find in mine is Buffalo. I expect a lot of regression from Buffalo. I don't expect Josh Allen to do too much in terms of taking care of the ball. I think he's very reckless without Brian Daboll, and I expect more red zone decisions to cost him games like we saw them last year, like they did against the Vikings, if you remember that crazy game where he fumbled in the end zone and then threw 2 interceptions in the end zone as well. So I like the New York Jets out of the AFC East closely ahead of the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. All right. Very, very respectable. I was kind of leaning between New York and Buffalo. I'm not going to have very, detailed answers because I don't really pay attention to the NFL as much, but I have the team that he just thrashed, and that is the Buffalo Bills. I like what the New York Jets are doing. Aaron Rodgers coming in, and then you have such a huge wide receiver room for him to throw to. But I want to see them play a regular season game first before I really get high on them. I have seen this Buffalo offense play a whole regular season, and they won the division, right? I'm pretty sure, right? Buffalo
They've won it
okay.
3 years in a row.
Okay, so they are kind of the New England now in the AFC East. It will be a more definitely competitive division than it has been in the past couple of years. I see Miami coming a close third as well. Could even come second. I didn't, really realize that, they got Tua coming back. He's going to be a little bit more seasoned. Hopefully he, isn't throwing up gang signs this year as he's laying on the field. But, I think he'll come back stronger this year. And I think that's always tough to play against a player that kind of had a shaky season, especially with, back-to-back-to-back injuries really of the same degree. So I would look out for Miami as well, but I think Buffalo will take the East this year, like they have in years past. But the times are changing. I think New York will, if Aaron Rodgers stays. I can't remember what his deal was for. I didn't know if it was 1 year, 3 years, 2 years, whatever. But if he stays there for a couple more years, I think they could be a huge force to reckon with.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me about the Jets is their offensive line is kind of old in regards to their tackle positions. They're relying on 38-year-old Dwayne Brown, who's battled his share of injuries lately, and also young player in Mekhi Becton, who is a massive force, but also has had, unfortunately, a few injuries in his short career. So if the Jets offensive line can stay intact, I think the Bills have a pretty poor offensive line and a lack of a running game outside of Josh Allen. I expect the Jets to take this division. Moving on to the AFC North. I've been calling the AFC North the best division in football for the past month. There's a situation where all of these teams could make the playoffs in my mind. I don't think that will happen because I think they're going to beat up on each other a little bit. And I don't see any of these teams winning more than 11 games just due to their schedule. And in first place, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers have only finished above 500 every year since Mike Tomlin has been here. He's never had a losing season, as I'm sure many people have heard about that streak. Kenny Pickett is the main reason I have this take. He heated up in the last 6-7 weeks of last season. And I expect this defense to continue to play strong with the difference makers in TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick specifically. And with Tomlin's leadership and coaching, I think he's a top 3 coach in the NFL. They have 2 great wide receivers on the outsides in George Pickens, who's more of a vertical threat, go get the deep ball kind of guy, and Deontay Johnson, who's more of that possession receiver, like a Keenan Allen or CeeDee Lamb maybe in LA or Dallas. And I think that Pittsburgh will get enough wins stacked up. I have them at 11-6 and tying the Bengals to win the division. And since the Bengals have a slow start typically to seasons, last year they were 0-2. This year, Burrow's kind of dealing with the nagging calf injury. Don't know how 100% he'll be for the first couple of weeks. I just think that Pittsburgh can get a jump start within the first month of the season over Cincy and win the tiebreaker over them. I do have Cincy making a wild card spot that we'll get into later, but I like the AFC North to go through Pittsburgh this year at 11-6.
I am going to disagree with that. I have Pittsburgh in my wild card spot, but I have Cincinnati winning the division. I was again going back and forth between them and Pittsburgh. I ultimately think Joe Burrow, you just like having an experienced quarterback. He came in his rookie year, took the league by storm, right? Kind of.
He actually tore his ACL his rookie year.
Well, shoot.
It was his second year he made the Super Bowl.
I forgot about that. His second year. Yeah, he didn't really tear the league. He tore his ACL. But yeah, thank you for correcting me. But still, when he started playing, he kind of took the league by storm. And so I think he continues on that track. Maybe not to the degree that we're used to seeing Burrow kind of fly. I don't think he has the consistency as someone like Patrick Mahomes. I know not in the same division, but Patrick Mahomes is leagues above everyone else, as Jack will kindly agree with. But yeah, I think Cincinnati has the weapons. Like I said, not too familiar with NFL, so I don't have too many names to throw out there, but he's got good receivers. He's got good options to go for. But the thing is Pittsburgh's also lingering in there. Like you mentioned, Kenny Pickett. Yes, he has been flying the last, 2.5 months. Like I said, with New York, I want to see this team and Kenny Pickett play a regular season game first. You're kind of playing with your backups, your practice squad, players that are trying to make the team in the preseason. I want to see him play with his normal guys. Obviously, that's been happening behind the scenes, same with everyone. And he needs to be under pressure, all that. A young quarterback under pressure, fighting for a playoff spot his first season. That's going to be very pressuring for him. He didn't experience that much during college, because of just where he played. And so I think this rookie season will be important for him. I think he's going to have a great season. Potentially, Kenny Pickett's a rookie, right? He just got drafted. Sophomore. God, I'm really bad at this. But I think he will have what it takes to continue his stride.
Yeah, I completely agree. And speaking of just being a sophomore, we've seen a lot of QBs take a leap from their first year in the league to being sophomores, specifically in Patrick Mahomes winning MVP and throwing 50 touchdown passes as a second-year player, Lamar Jackson winning an MVP in his second season and absolutely taking the Ravens over by storm. A lot of these QBs make this leap in their second year. We saw Trevor Lawrence do it last year in the second half of the season once Urban Meyer left the scene and Doug Peterson came to town. Second-year quarterbacks are where the leap is made in terms of making big strides mentally and offensively, offensively minded in on-field situations. And I expect Pickett to make that stride. There aren't many other guys who qualify to make this leap. Specifically, Brock Purdy is really the only big second-year guy outside of Kenny Pickett. So I expect big things from that Pittsburgh offense. Moving into what I would consider probably the worst division in football, maybe tied for the AFC South. I think this one's pretty straightforward, Reece. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this one. I got the Jacksonville Jaguars here, and I'm super high on this Jags team. I was on them last year to win the division at plus 800. That cashed. It was a little sweaty in the middle of the year. They started like 2-5, 2-6, but they were able to get the ship sailed right in the end of the season. Trevor Lawrence was the second highest graded quarterback in terms of QBR and PFF grade in weeks 9 and on last year, behind only Pat Mahomes. And obviously, Pat Mahomes went on to win the Super Bowl for Kansas City. That's pretty good company for Trevor Lawrence. And I expect big things from the greatest QB prospect since Andrew Luck or maybe even John Elway. I think Trevor Lawrence, year 3, getting Calvin Ridley is huge. He's never had an ex-alpha wide receiver on the outside. This will also allow Christian Kirk to only play slot role, which is his primary role. And then it'll allow Evan Ingram to work that Y area of the field down the middle from the tight end slot. I'm super high on this Jacksonville offense. The defense does raise some question marks for me. I'm not too sure if I'm ready to crown them like Super Bowl legitimate contenders to win the whole Super Bowl. I'd like to see the defense make some strides, but I'm fully on board with them winning the AFC South. And I actually have them as the number 1 seed in the AFC. Due to their weak division and weak schedule, I think they're going to win 13 games this year.
I don't have much more to say besides that. I have Jacksonville winning as well. Like you said, Trevor Lawrence is a junior now?
Yep, third year.
So last year he took that big leap, like everyone kind of does their second year. I think he
and without Urban Meyer, like last year was essentially his rookie year. The Urban Meyer year you can throw out because that was just a terrible experience.
Right. Because no one would want to be coached under Urban Meyer.
No.
So yeah, I think Jacksonville wins the division. Would I say with ease? Maybe. I think this might be a hot take. I don't know what others are thinking about, but I think Indianapolis, if all things go according to plan and according to who they have and what they have on paper, I think they could be second. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think they're rebuilding. They've got a few years left in that, but Anthony Richardson, you have one of my favorite players of all time, Michael Pittman Jr. I love that guy. I watched him in his YouTube videos when he was over at USC in college. And so I just followed him to the NFL. I love his game day videos, his vlogs, all of that. And I drafted him in fantasy just because of this. So I had to draft Richardson so I could stack him. But I like what Indianapolis is doing. Like I said, they're not quite there yet, but I think they could make it a little bit more competitive division. They could try to take that worst division in football title
absolutely
off them.
If Richardson comes into the league hot and they tap into his running ability, and if they're able to figure out this Jonathan Taylor situation, which I'm not too sure they're going to, that is a lethal backfield with JT and AR-15. I don't see Jonathan Taylor playing a game this year for the Indianapolis Colts, but yeah. I do like the idea of Richardson being that dual threat QB. He's got to focus though on getting his footwork set and getting those passes to be a little bit more accurate. Moving on to the
Yeah.
AFC West, which is my cup of tea here as a big Chiefs fan. The Chiefs are trying to win their 8th AFC West title in a row. And they also are trying to beat the streak of most times beating an opponent in a row in the Denver Broncos. We have beat them since 2015. The Chiefs have not lost a game to the Denver Broncos. I think we've beat them like 15 plus straight times in a row, something like that, maybe a little less. I think this Chiefs team is going to win this division easily. I don't see much of a threat from Los Angeles, from Las Vegas, not from Denver as well. I do think the Chiefs could maybe drop a couple games early, especially with Chris Jones not playing due to his holdout and contract situation. I'm fully prepared for Chris Jones to miss the first half of the season. And I'm okay with that. We have most of our tough games after our bye week. We're home against Philly, home against Cincy, at the Chargers, and home against Buffalo, all after our bye week. So those are the 4 toughest games in my brain that I see the Chiefs playing. The other game that's tough is week 2 in Jacksonville. I have the Chiefs dropping that game. And that is why Jacksonville ultimately is my number 1 seed, because I think the Chiefs will go 13-4 as well.
I think
So I have the
week
Chiefs.
1 is a tough game.
I would disagree. I think the Lions game week 1 is not going to be too tough here. I expect the Chiefs win 42 to like 30. We'll get into more of that next week. But I see the Chiefs team winning the division, and I don't see us losing a divisional game. We could drop one to the Chargers, but I expect the Chiefs to sweep the division or at least go 5-1 and kind of cruise to an AFC West title by at least 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, I unfortunately have Kansas City winning the West. I just don't I don't think I see much competition. Chargers, I mean, you got Herbert and you got quite a few solid receivers to throw to. I think they'll come second, but I don't think they have the capacities to really compete with Kansas City. Not until they make some big trades or acquire a hitting gem in the draft do I see them really competing for that title. The Raiders, I literally don't pay attention at all to the Raiders if I don't have to. I don't know why I, for some reason, hate that franchise. Probably because they just say they're going one place, say they're staying. I hate when people do that. Like, it's just like
they're my least favorite team as well. That's who I consider
manipulative.
the Chiefs' biggest rival in the division. I love beating the
Right.
Raiders, even though they're
Right.
not good and it's like easy to beat them. It's just satisfying to beat them, and they're quarterbacked by Jimmy G. They got Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, which are great weapons, but the defense is terrible. I don't know if Jimmy can play a full season healthy. And in a very, very tough AFC, I don't see the Raiders competing. I have them dead last, winning only 4
But
games.
he's the hottest man in the NFL, Jimmy G.
Jimmy's a good-looking man. I'll give him that, but he's a pretty mid quarterback.
Yeah, and I have Denver coming last. Broncos country. Let's ride our way home
to 4th place
after week 7 because Russell Wilson needs to retire. I'm sorry. He's just not it anymore. And I don't know if is Drew Lock still. No. Is Drew Lock on? I don't pay attention. I don't even know who your backup is. He's not going to do anything. It's going to be the Russell Wilson show, but it's not going to be a very long or entertaining show.
I agree.
Yeah, so I got Kansas City taking the West.
Awesome. Let's go in quickly with the AFC wildcard teams. So I didn't rank them in order, but my 3 wildcard teams I have coming out of the AFC are going to be Los Angeles. I do think the Chargers are a good team, but you're comparing them to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are an elite team on the verge of becoming a dynasty. The Chargers are very good, very good. I have them in the wild card slot along with Miami. A big if, but if Tua stays healthy, this team can make the AFC Championship game. This team is electric on offense, coached by Mike McDaniel. Tua getting the ball to the 2 fastest players in the NFL. I expect Miami to win double-digit games. And then coming out of the AFC North, I got Cincinnati on the wild card as well. I said that they're going to tie Pittsburgh for the division lead. Cincinnati could easily win this division. I'm not saying they're going to be bad or anything. I'm just taking a bold prediction and leaping onto the Kenny Pickett train and envisioning Cincinnati starting slow again. If that's not the case, I could see Cincy winning this division by a couple of games over Pittsburgh. So I'm still throwing them in the wild card because Cincinnati, in my opinion, is the second best AFC team, but that does not equate to them winning the division this year. I just like Pittsburgh's kind of position better.
After hearing you list off your wildcard teams, I changed mine. Sue me. I have
That's okay.
the New York Jets, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
I think the Jets are one of the best teams in the AFC. I just don't think they beat out Buffalo this year, just because of they still got to work on their dynamic and their chemistry. I know that's what the preseason's for, but this is so cliche, but I want to see them play an NFL season first before I can really like hop on it. Pittsburgh, again, they've got a youngerish team, right? Or at least, star position wise, youngerish team. Again, I want to see them kind of garnish their skill set and really mold together into a football team. And then the Chargers, they're a little bit on the older side, I believe. And Herbert being one of the younger guys on the team, he really stepped up and, grew into that leadership role very quickly. I think they continue their strides from the last few seasons. And like I said, like Jack said, no particular order. But I think those are the three wildcard teams out of the AFC.
Yeah.
But yeah,
absolutely.
Pretty similar. I think we have the same playoff teams.
I don't have Buffalo, and instead I have Miami,
right.
So it's another AFC East team. I'm just not. I'm out on Buffalo because I'm so high on the Jets, and I'm assuming Tua plays a full season. Tua getting hurt would put Buffalo in the playoffs to me. Like, them and Miami are very close. We saw Skylar Thompson almost beat Buffalo in the playoffs. Like Buffalo and Miami are not very far apart from each other. I think people think of Buffalo as like this juggernaut. They've made one conference championship game in the last like 25 years. Like, they're not a juggernaut. I'm sorry. The media overloves them. Enough about Buffalo.
Oh,
Moving
I'm
on
not
to
saying
the
they're
NFC.
a juggernaut. But
no, but I just think people overhype them.
Yeah, totally.
And NFC East, I got Dallas. The main reason I have Dallas winning this division, there's two of them. I think that the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys have the best defense in football, led by Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs. Second, this division has not had a repeat winner in about 15 to 20 years. So if you do the math, last year the Eagles won it. Based off of the last 15, 20 years, they're probably not winning it again. So who's the next best team in that division? Dallas. Dallas beat Philly last year. Philly didn't have their starting quarterback. And then Philly beat Dallas last year when Dallas didn't have their starting quarterback. So they didn't really get to play a fair matchup, Dak versus Jalen. And I think they're a lot closer than people think. Dallas has an elite offensive line. Philly's is probably a nick better. The defenses are both top 5 in the NFL to me. Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback right now than Dak Prescott. But I think if you put Dak on the Eagles roster last year, he's doing the same things Jalen Hurts can do. I want to see more out of Hurts before I elevate him to like a top 3 to 4 QB in the NFL. I have him at 7 right now in my QB rankings, but I could see him moving up, and I have Dak as a fringe top 10 to 12. But the difference for me is that the Eagles lost both their offensive and defensive coordinator this year. I think they could just maybe lose a little step on both sides of the ball. And they had the easiest schedule in the year in the league last year, which I was all over before the season in 2022. I had the Eagles winning the division, winning the NFC, and winning at least 12 games, and they nailed that. I was all over them last year to make a big leap with their year 2 quarterback in Jalen Hurts. But this year, I think it's Dallas's year. Cowboys fans, you always say it's your year. You're always wrong. This year, I'm hopping on that bandwagon. I'm saying it's Dallas's year. I've got Dallas winning the NFC East.
I'm going the Philly route, mostly because I hate Dallas. They are the Toronto Maple Leafs of the NFL, and the other way
That is
around.
a great comparison.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. I hate both franchises. I try.
I
not
like
to have
both
too much,
franchises.
I hate both franchises because they call themselves America's team or the league's team, or they are overhyped. They're like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish as well. I will bring Notre Dame up all the time if I have to. Those are the top 3 overrated franchises or programs in the country. And I try not to be as biased, but it's kind of hard not being biased towards something where it's like statistically proven. The Cowboys haven't done anything in the past, 40 years and 30 years, maybe. I don't know the exact number, but I know the numbers don't lie.
They won Super Bowl in the 90s. It's been about 25 years.
Okay.
30 years.
Yeah. And I just think Philly, they're returning almost everyone from last year's squad. Jalen Hurts, I think, is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if not the best. I mean, Patrick
Not
Mahomes
even close
exists.
to the best. Not even
Patrick
close
Mahomes
to the
exists.
best.
All right, shush. I corrected myself. So I just think they ride that wave from last year. I still think Dallas comes second and they, make the playoffs ultimately, but I think Philly takes the division again and they break that curse of non-repeat winners.
Yep. I hear you out on that. And Philly should be favored, I think, to win the division. But I'm going to take the Cowboys and Dak Prescott here. To the NFC North, your favorite division here. All last year, I was a year early on the Lions, I admit. I had them to make the playoffs last year. I had them to win the NFC North. They missed both of those just barely by going 9-8 and just missing the playoffs because of the Rams-Seahawks game that happened last year where the Seahawks got in.
Also, I'm pretty sure almost like all of their losses were one possession losses.
A lot of them were. They lost to the Seahawks by 3.
They lost to the Eagles week 1 by, I think, a touchdown or by 1.
Yeah. They lost to Seattle by a field goal.
Like, they could have gone 15-2 or whatever the
Vikings were 13-4, and they were like undefeated in 1-score games. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But as I was alluding to, I was on the Lions last year, and I was riding that bandwagon, that hype train, if you will, all the way till the summer. And then everyone else in the USA kind of started to hop on that bandwagon and that hype train. And now I'm off of that hype train. Give me the Minnesota Vikings to repeat as NFC North champions. It is plus about 300 right now on DraftKings and FanDuel. The Vikings have the best offense in this division. Like, I don't understand why people are overhyping the Lions offense and maybe the Packers offense when last year we saw the number 1 wide receiver and a fringe top 10 to 12 QB in Kirk Cousins, Kirko Chains, if you will, ball out on offense. Is Minnesota's defense terrible? Yes. Will it get better? Yes, because there's literally nowhere else to go. They were like the 30th ranked defense last year. I expect massive improvements on the defensive side of the ball. They rid of their defensive coordinator. They're changing their system from a 4-3 to a 3-4 or vice versa. And I believe that this defense in the end of the year will start to catch fire. And I expect Minnesota to be in a lot of shootouts early, but by week 10, 12, 14, they should be clicking. And what's unique is that I think the Lions are very good. Like, don't get me wrong. I think the Lions and Vikings are very similar. I just give the slight experience to Minnesota and the slight defensive edge to Minnesota. They play week 16 and week 18. So I envision both of these teams coming into the last 3 weeks of the NFL season with about 8 or 9 wins apiece. So like 8-6, something like that, 8-7. Minnesota, I think, will sweep Detroit is like ultimately what I envision. And Detroit also plays the Cowboys between that. I don't think Detroit's beating the Cowboys in week 17. So that's ultimately why I picked Minnesota to win. It's just because of the end of the year schedule. I think Minnesota wins 10 games. Detroit will win 9 maybe. And I have Minnesota edging them out with the Bears finishing third at 8-9 and Green Bay at 5-11 in last place.
Okay. I flip-flop our picks. I have Detroit versus everybody, baby. Give me the Lions.
What can I expect? You got to rep your boys.
So, and it sucks because like literally the whole country's been on them since Hard Knocks. And
gotta fade the public, baby.
This is looking to be like the next Dallas Cowboys, just not as extreme. Like this is America's team off of vibes, off of Aiden Hutchinson singing Billie
100%.
Jean in the no look t-shirt snag in Hard Knocks. Like ever since that moment, everyone's been on the Lions, even when they went 0-6 or like whatever they were last season at the beginning of the year. What a turnaround too last season. If they had just started a little bit hotter, they would have been clear of playoffs.
Yeah. If they beat Seattle week 2, they lost 48-45. They're in the playoffs. Like that was one field goal.
And I think this is the hot take here. Not really a hot take. This is just personal opinion and bias, but I think they have a top 10 offense and defense coming in this year.
Oh, no chance.
Defense is a little bit, that's a questionable. But offense, I think you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff slinging into the ball. Yes, he's a rookie, but also
you named one veteran player there.
Okay, but also Amon-Ra is goated.
I love Amon-Ra. I just there's nothing outside of him because your receivers can't stop gambling inside your practice facilities.
And then when Jameson Williams comes back, he's not going to be gambling anymore because he's going to be making his own money and he's going to be wearing a Super Bowl ring and lifting the Lombardi Trophy, and he doesn't need to gamble anymore because he's going to make life earnings in his first season. No, I'm kidding. They're not winning the Super Bowl. But one name I didn't name, and this is what I mentioned to you before, is Mike Evans. If they don't figure it out, that is one of the top landing spots for him.
That would be great. I would love that for Detroit.
I saw an interview on, I think it was the Up and Adam show, and Aqib Talib was talking, and he said that Mike Evans, if it's not Tampa Bay, he should end up in Detroit. I think that would be a great spot for him.
I agree.
There's not too much pressure on him. I don't think he's really worried about pressure. I mean, he's one of the best receivers in the league. Top 10, top 15.
Yeah, top 15 for sure. And Aqib Talib, great cornerback out of the University of Kansas. So I do trust his opinion.
Oh my God. So if that happens, this is a huge reach though, because this just came out of thin air. But it's not a bad shout from Talib. I think that would be a good spot if Tampa Bay doesn't work out, because it seems like he wants to stay there. Just need to work out the numbers. But
I like that.
Sick to see.
I
Mike
would be
Evans
down for that. That'd be cool, and that'd be helpful to Amon-Ra too.
Because you can throw Amon-Ra in the slot.
Oh, 100%.
Dude, Amon-Ra would cook in the slot. So
he does cook in the slot.
I think if they get Mike Evans, they could be a fringe Super Bowl contender. Just throwing
all right
out there. But
that's your boys. I like it.
And then Minnesota in second, Bears in third, Green Bay go suck something.
Yeah, Green Bay not it. I'm not on the Jordan Love train this year. Moving on to the NFC South. This is probably the worst division in football. One of the Souths is this one's more mediocre, where the AFC South has one good team and 3 just bad teams. I have the Atlanta Falcons winning this division. Very close to me between the Saints and the Falcons. Ultimately, though, I'm buying into Arthur Smith on offense and his ability to just derive a competent offense, whereas the New Orleans Saints have a defensive head coach. I just prefer to have someone with an offensive mind coaching that side of the ball in today's NFL. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts were all top 10 NFL draft picks in skill position areas. They're building something good on offense. The big question mark, obviously, is Desmond Ridder at quarterback, and they have Taylor Heineke as backup. I'm just believing in Arthur Smith and perhaps a mini year 2 leap from Desmond Ridder. I don't expect a Kenny Pickett type leap from Ridder, but I do expect a little bit of a leap in a good offense, relying on the run game between Algier and Robinson. Top 3 to 5 offensive line in the NFL. A defense that has some young players in Grady Jarrett and AJ Terrell. They also added veteran D end Calais Campbell to add to some leadership presence on defense. I don't love the defense, but I think in a weak division, I have Atlanta edging out New Orleans at 9-8 and getting the NFC South title.
I also have Atlanta. This is kind of tough to kind of predict, not because it's so good, because it's so bad. And it's like, it's hard to think any of these could win a division, but one of them has to. And so I think I was kind of going New Orleans, Atlanta. So I just threw out Atlanta based off vibes. I don't know. I like
their offense.
I don't even think I know a single soul besides Ritter on the Falcons, but whatever. Go do your thing, Atlanta. I really have nothing else much to say because like this, I think this beats out, what was it? The AFC South? Because there's just like nothing exciting going on there besides Bryce Young and Carolina.
Yeah. Tampa Bay's got good weapons, but Baker Mayfield's a not good quarterback.
Baker Mayfield is mid at best.
Can't
believe he let him win a Heisman.
He did cook in college, I'm not gonna lie.
But yeah,
we both got Atlanta. I like Atlanta. I also like New Orleans, but just give me the more stable offense and offensive head coach, I think, ultimately. Yeah. Moving on to the NFC West, I got a hot take. I have the Seattle Seahawks winning the NFC West. I am not a Brock Purdy believer.
Hot.
A little bit hot. The Niners are minus 160 to win the division. That's the second biggest favorite behind Jacksonville and Kansas City. They're tied.
That's my lock. That's my pick. San Fran.
I like Seattle here. I think Geno can kind of continue what he did last year. He doesn't have to take any other leaps from last year, which was an outlier year in terms of his career with the Jets before Seattle. And they have one of the deepest wide receiving cores here in the NFL between Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. And don't forget, they do have Noah Fant at tight end and two running backs in Kenneth Walker and rookie Zach Charbonnet. This offense will be good. They have two tackles who are both heading into their sophomore season, and they played lights out as rookies. I'm just expecting them to continue to do that. If they have problems, that worries me. If the tackles have problems, especially in a division with Nicky Bosa and Fred Warner and Tufunga and San Fran. But I don't like Brock Purdy. Like, I just need to see more from Brock Purdy, face more adversity. He's coming off elbow surgery as well. I don't love that. And the Niners are a little bit thin, in my opinion, on offense if one of their weapons goes down, whether that's Kittle, Debo, or Ayuk. McCaffrey and Mitchell are always kind of getting banged up. They play very physical. Their players get hurt a lot. I'm going to take Seattle at plus 200, about 200, 220 to win that division in the NFC West. I think they have a very good offense. I have them as the number 2 seed in the NFC, going 11-6 and securing an NFC West title this year.
I have San Fran, but I was also debating Seattle here. I just got Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. I think he'll do enough where you can kind of keep a stable offensive scheme going. He might be on his third or fourth, ACL, MCL, whatever he's injured, but after this season, because he's going to run the ball so much. But I don't know. It's also kind of based off vibes, which I hate doing, but Seattle's also super close there for me. It's not like it's so hard making these predictions because when you say someone wins a division, you think it's such a clear and obvious win and that they're miles clear above everyone. But I think that might be one of the closer races.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if the general public sees it that way. But I expect Seattle to make some noise there in the NFC West. I'm not saying San Francisco is bad. They probably have the best roster in the NFL outside of quarterback. I believe they have the best 2 to 53 roster, but that one, they don't have them. I'm sorry. Right. I'm not in on Brock Purdy.
It's so like I said, like it's so tough to like make these predictions because then you're making Seattle look bad or San Francisco looking bad. Neither of them are bad. None of these second place teams really are bad besides the South teams. But
Yeah.
so with that, my wild card's looking like Minnesota. Like I said,
Yeah.
they are a very, very, very solid second place team, or vice versa. Detroit's a very, very good second place team. Dallas, again, I just hate Dallas, but I can't not have them in the playoffs because they're a very, very good second or first place team. And then same with Seattle.
Okay.
Again, no particular order, but Seattle, they have to make the playoffs. Like, I don't see them not. Kenneth Walker is going to have a huge season. And I hate saying that because he's a Sparty. But he's going to have a huge year. Zach Charbonnet, though, a former Michigan player, he's going to have a huge year when he's not in Kenneth's shadow. But yeah, that's my NFC wrapped up there.
Yeah, I think we have the exact same teams top to bottom in the playoffs. So in my wild card, I've got San Francisco and Philadelphia, who most people are picking to win their divisions. I still have them in the playoffs. I still have both of them winning double-digit games. I just don't think they're winning their divisions this year. And I got the Lions in there as well. I got to put Detroit in the playoffs as well. They're going to be my 7th seed there in the NFC.
Very good. Very good. And now, quickly, going to go through our player awards.
Yep.
I got the Mahomey winning the MVP.
Yeah.
I think it could really go
never
to
a bad bet. Never
I think
a bad
this is
bet.
like this could be one of the years where the MVP is totally up for grabs. Like
There's so many good young quarterbacks.
Right.
So many.
This
We've
could very
never
well
seen this many.
This could very well be the Heisman and be a QB award and just go to best quarterback this year.
Oh, it is 100%.
Joe Burrow could win it.
Next year, we're adding Caleb Williams to the mix.
He sucks. No, I'm kidding. I got Justin Jefferson winning Offensive Player of the Year. I think
another great pick.
If the Vikings are going to be successful, it's going to be because of Justin Jefferson and his hands, his route running abilities. This is a hot take. This is my hot take for Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year. Give me Hutchinson, big Hutch. I just love that guy so much. I got to meet him, and he's such a great. Everyone says this when they meet a football player or any athlete because they expect them to be total D-bags. But Hutchinson is such a great dude.
Yeah,
and
Aiden Hutch, baby.
And he's such a family-oriented guy. He doesn't have a family himself, as in kids or a wife, but he's just that just all-around great guy. And so I want to see him have a very good year. And if he has a great year, it's going to be him winning Defensive Player of the Year. I think he was snubbed for Defensive Rookie, even though I'm not going to discredit Sauce in the great year he had, but I just think he had 2 fewer interceptions, and he's an edge.
One of the interceptions was a floated ball to the sideline, where no one else was around. So he had 1 true interception on the season. If you look at the tape.
If we look at the numbers, he had 3 interceptions? 2?
I think Hutch had 2.
One of them was a pick six, I believe. Because it was thrown to him in the end zone.
One of them was a Hail Mary attempt with no time on the clock in the second half.
And it was by
Justin Fields got hit as he was thrown, and he threw it only 5 yards, and the only player around was Hutchinson.
Who was that?
Against the Bears. It was at halftime.
Oh, it was when this was at Ford Field, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he picked off A-Rod in Detroit as well.
I think he did as well.
That's the guy that's leading your Jets, Jets. So
to the AFC East title, correct?
Yeah, so I think Hutch will have a great year. I got Bijan Mustard, Bijan Robinson winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's just gonna go off.
Yeah,
he's just gonna do his thing, and then Will Anderson, because why not? Just no explanation. It's just Will Anderson. So
solid picks. I've got Trevor Lawrence in my MVP. If I expect the Jags to do what they're going to do and adding Calvin Ridley, and assuming Lawrence takes a big step up, I think he's going to be in the national spotlight the whole year. I got them in 13 wins, or number one seed in the AFC. Give me T-Law for his first MVP. I think he'll win multiple. Offensive
Multiple.
player of the year, yeah, definitely. Offensive player of the week,
Yeah,
offensive player of the year. I got Garrett Wilson out in New York Jets. I cannot get enough about Garrett Wilson. I think he's the new.
I hate Garrett Wilson. Me and the homies hate Garrett Wilson.
I know he's an Ohio State guy, but Ohio State produces elite NFL wide receivers, and I
Yeah,
think
they
Garrett
do.
Wilson is the second coming here of the Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers
Chris
connection that we saw.
Olave too.
I know we saw Devontae and A-Rod cook the league for 5 years plus in Green Bay. I expect the same from Wilson. He is my Opoi of the year. Defensive player of the year, again, going with the guy I think is going to have a huge season for the NFC East champion Dallas Cowboys. That is Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is being converted from a linebacker to a purely edge rusher this year. I think he will have a shot to break the sack record of 22.5, and I think he will win the Defensive Player of the Year award. Him and TJ Watt are my two picks to kind of compete for that award, with Parsons edging out Watt, because they will be able to have a couple more wins, I think, than the Steelers. Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year, I got the same as you. I got chalk. I got Bijan Robinson, and I got Will Anderson from Alabama. Will Anderson from Alabama in the preseason looked like a game wrecker in Houston. And not that Houston's going to have a lot of opportunities for him to make plays and sack the QB, because I think Houston will be trailing a lot in games, meaning the team they're playing against will run the ball a lot. I don't know if Anderson will put up as good of stats as I think he's capable of as a rookie. I think the impact, though, will be shown. And Bijan is just in a great offensive system with Arthur Smith, great offensive line, and an inconsistent and unknown quarterback situation where they're going to want to lean on the running game to get the quarterback play action game going for passing. So I expect Bijan to put up 1,500 to 1,800 all-purpose yards and double-digit touchdowns, cruising to Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I want to end with just the Super Bowl teams, if you can, out of each conference. I have made mine in bold here in our document. And my Super Bowl pick is the Dallas. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Cincinnati Bengals for Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. While I did not have the Bengals winning the AFC North, I do have the Bengals winning the Super Bowl. As much as it pains me as a Chiefs fan, I do have Cincinnati defeating Dallas in the Super Bowl. So Cowboys fans, I'm buying in 90% that it is your year. However, your year ends one game short to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. Give me Cincinnati 33, Dallas 27.
All right. I didn't realize we're doing Super Bowl predictions. This was kind of sprung on me. Also, you have to know when you're making predictions like these. Give me the week 1 kickoff game. Give me Kansas City versus Detroit.
I love that.
There's no revenge necessary because they win week 1 and they win the Super Bowl. Give me the Lions. And give me Aiden Hutchinson, Super Bowl MVP.
I love it. That's bold, man. I would love to have a rematch with the Lions.
It's gonna be Pimp Goff.
The last time we saw Mahomes and Goff play football, they combined for 105 points when they played against each other. 54-51, where the Rams beat the Chiefs in 2018.
Jared Goff knows how to beat Mahomes. So I just like preparing you for week 1 and like the sour taste of defeat in your mouth.
I'm not too familiar with that taste after last year. We only lost 3 games. One of them I went to Chiefs Colts, and the Chiefs lost the game to the Colts last year.
Can you go to the Chiefs Lions game then?
I will not be attending Chiefs Lions this year. No, I cannot afford a ticket for week 1.
That's okay. Well, it was great to really deep dive into what the NFL has in store. Watch us get none of these right, because I very well think the season's going to be chaotic. I can feel it.
It will be. I'm quite confident though in my picks, and I am so excited for kickoff next Thursday night in Kansas City. Dropping that banner. The season cannot come soon enough.
Ooh, they're dropping the banner too. Detroit's gonna play spoiler. Detroit versus everybody. Let's go. And so yeah, that's gonna conclude today's episode. We hope you all enjoyed. Catch us next week. I think we're gonna work on a weekly basis. So
absolutely
stay tuned for weekly uploads. Mostly covering NFL. I think that would be way easier to cover. Just because, it's the NFL. Who doesn't love the NFL? But college football will definitely be in the mix as well. So stay tuned and have a great day.
See y'all.